Hello everyone, so what I have here is a LED video light, and this is actually made by a Chinese company, which is also very popular over here. The brand name is Godox, which in Chinese it actually translates to magic cow. I don't know how they got the translation to Godox, but this is their SL video light, and I think it's 150 watts. I ordered this video light because I have a upcoming interview that I need to take videos for, and I do not have any professional video lighting equipments, and so I quickly went to Amazon, and this actually popped up, and the price is fairly affordable. I think I got this for around $240, and I opt for next day shipping, which added another $19. So it comes to me at still less than $300 shipped. So, and I was doing my own little research, since I have no experience in video lighting, because I'm mainly a photographer, and this light actually, apparently it's a good value compared to, I think, another very popular brand over here, which is also a Chinese company. I think it's called Aputure or Aputure, whatever. So sorry for my spelling, but this light is very comparable to that light, except it's probably like 3 times to 4 times cheaper. What you are sacrificing is the ability to actually quickly mount a battery to the light, and also a slightly noisier fan from what I've read. So I'm actually gonna quickly test out this video light and see if the brightness is gonna be good enough for what I need to light my main subject for. And over here is the instructional manual. So have both Chinese and English, but mainly in Chinese. The English coming to the second half. Okay, so that looks like I think that's what they call a chip on or system on board COS light, or whatever that means. Regardless, we're gonna open it up and take a look. So it is actually quite big, bigger than I imagined. Over here is your basic, looks like 6-inch reflector with foams still sticking to it, and I'm gonna take everything out and then move the box. And this is the actual light, quite big. There's the power cord, also quite thick and quite long. And here is, it looks like a diffuser of some sort. Here is the remote control to turn the light on and off. So keep everything over here. We're gonna power it up and just take a quick look. So very basic parts. Of course, it's not coming with a stand, which would be nice to have for the video setup that I'm gonna do. But it's a Bowen S mount, standard Bowen mount. So with this, I've actually bought a softbox right over here. Let me show you this softbox. It's probably too big for the camera. This is called the Pro Studio Solution softbox, and I think it's a 32 by 48 square softbox. I didn't go with the parabolic because I've tried it before, and I still prefer the tried and true square softboxes. So we can actually put the softbox on the light and see how well it performs in terms of lighting up people at a certain distance. That is mainly what I use this light for. Okay, so take it out of the plastic casting right over here, and quite big, bigger than my Paul Buff Einstein lights, which is a strobe. So here's a power cord. So if this actually works well, I may just get some of their other models. I think the 60 watt is one of their very popular models. Slightly or half as powerful, but still very usable. Comes in at I think $140 or something. And this, yeah, as I mentioned earlier, it's about $250 shipped if you don't choose next day shipping. So standard PC kind of a connection. 3-prong connection, and let's see, and it takes both 100 to 240 volts, so it's internationally compatible. If you go to other countries, you shouldn't have problem connecting it into a power source. The Bowen mounts, is there a release for the mount? I've never used the Bowen mount before, so I don't know what to expect. Okay, here you go. Right here. Here's the light itself with a looks like it almost feels like it's a ooh, right off the bat I can tell you that the build quality is not so good because this area actually have some sort of elevation on top of the cooling chip, which is that copper part down there. Well, hopefully it works, but in terms of build quality, I wouldn't say this is top-notch build quality. The whole thing is, it's got a aluminum body on the exterior. This part is plastic, this part is aluminum, plastic again, and metal again. So the control is on the back. If it would be nice if they have a separate control that you can actually mount at, you know, eye level or slightly lower, so it's easier to control. But this is everything integrated into this one box. Curious to hear the fan speed. Okay, so here's the release button for the lock on the Bowen S. We're gonna test it in just a second. And over here is a very cheaply made, a cheap feeling umbrella slot right over here. Again, I'm not a big fan of umbrella. I think they're all like, they don't light up the scene quite as nicely as any softbox. And over here, this adjusting knob, unfortunately you can't pull it out and then readjust, so it's kind of like a one motion. On some of the better models, you should be able to pull this knob out and then readjust without having to turn it 360 degrees. So yeah, I wouldn't say this is a fancy light by any standards. This should be a very basic light. Let me plug it in and then take a quick look. I'm very curious about the brightness of those video LED lights because I've never experienced any, so I want to know how bright it is. And the cord is fairly long. I'm gonna unplug one of the things. So let's see. Let me unplug this light. Got it plugged in. And let's turn this bad boy on and see how bright it is. So this is at 10% brightness. Not sure if it shows up in the video. Which is already, I would say, decent at 10% brightness. But oh boy, the fan is really loud. So I think you would need a very dedicated shotgun mic to be able to actually block this fan noise, because listen to it, it's really loud. So not sure if it's gonna work well at the interview, but this is 10% brightness setting. I am gonna turn it all the way up to, let's see. So it goes to, the lowest it ever goes is, let's see if it focuses, 10%. And then you can adjust by 1 point. All the way to 100, which is 150 watts. And wow, really bright. Okay, so, and this is without any diffuser, without the what's it called, without this thing. Gonna put it on, take a look. So if you put this on, the light is more concentrated and it's even brighter. So yeah, I would say in terms of brightness, it's great. In terms of fan noise, not so much. And you can actually see the actual temperature, the internal temperature of the parts. So if I keep it at 10%, the fan actually slows down a little bit, but it's still quite loud. Okay, so there you have it. And in terms of casting shadows with this little reflector, shadow is pretty harsh. I'm gonna remove the reflector and let's take a look. So same thing with the reflector removed. Also a very harsh shadow. I'm gonna put up the softbox and let's see how bright it is. And interestingly, when I put my hands over here, like, I don't feel anything too hot to the touch compared to the tungsten light or the modeling light on my Einstein, but the fan is just loud and it's actually blowing. It's actually sucking air from the top, from the back to the front. So the fan is actually blowing air through here. Almost feel like a CPU cooler. So let me go put up the softbox and take a look. I have no idea what this is for. It could be a diffuser, but I don't know. Oh, I know. I think it's used to cover this, so as a small diffuser. Kind of silly because for the most part it's not gonna work. And we haven't tested the remote, which is right over here. Looks pretty simple to use. Let's see if it has batteries. No, it does not have battery, and it uses two AAA batteries. Okay, so we're gonna test that in a little bit. Softbox. Let's see. So turn the light off first. And I'm curious to know if I could actually upgrade the fan to a quieter fan. And I know a fan manufacturer, Noctua, they actually make very quiet, very powerful fans. So not sure if I can modify that. We'll have to find out later on by opening up this light and check it out. For now, I needed to work for this weekend's photo shoot, so I don't want to do anything crazy. So here's my softbox. I am just gonna mount it onto my softbox. Alright, so now it's mounted onto my softbox, but it's too big. I'll show you guys what it looks like. It looks like that. So it's not a small softbox, but it's also not a very big one. Next step, I think I'm just gonna set up the softbox. I'm gonna reset up the camera angle and just light up myself, and then for you guys to judge to see if this light is actually good enough for any video production use. Okay, so I'll be right back. Okay, so where I'm standing, it's about 4 foot, a little more than 4 foot away from the camera, and the light is set up right next to the camera, so about the same distance that the light is coming through. Right now the light is at 10%. I just set up the remote, so I can use the remote to change the lighting of the video light right in front. And the Kelvin setting, looks like I can also change the Kelvin setting on the camera, but right now I'm only going to be using daylight balanced setting, which is 5600, which is what the light is, the light specification is. It's only at 5600 Kelvin. You can lower the power of the light back to 10%. If you have any setting less than the 56, you can only lower it to something around 25%. So this is what you get at 10% light setting. And right now the ISO is at 100, and I'm using a Sony a7 III in 4K, 24 frames per second recording format, and the shutter speed is actually 50th of a second. Aperture 2.8. So now I'm actually gonna increase the light output of the SL-150 to 20%. Let's see how bright it is. And it's really interesting because you can adjust it with 1% increment, but you cannot lower it down to less than 10%. So right now it's at 20%. You guys can take a look and see how well it actually lights up my face with the softbox. And this softbox I got, to be honest, it's a really cheap softbox. I think I spent about $85 because I really needed a softbox for this video light. For the price, it works just fine. There's a huge dark spot right in the center because of the way the softbox was set up. It's really easy to take down because it works like an umbrella. So you just push it, it goes into place, and you just pull it, it comes out. That's why there is a dark spot in the center, but obviously it doesn't look like it's affecting the majority of the illumination casting back from the softbox. So I think it's fine. It should work just fine. $85, great value. I was also looking at the Pro Photo. Let's increase it to 30% and let's take a look. So this is at 30%. Also take note of the fan noise, okay? I'm gonna be using a shotgun mic, the Video Mic Pro that I just bought. I don't know how well it's gonna work, but I'm gonna test that out in a little bit as well. So right now it's at 30% brightness. Shutter speed 50th of the second, f2.8. So take a look and see how the light actually shines on my face. I'm going to turn a little bit. You can see how the shadow was casting on my face. It's very soft. It's not the softest because I only used the one diffuser. The second diffuser was actually missing a pin, so I wasn't able to actually install it, which is crazy. So eventually I have to return the softbox, maybe get a replacement model based on the fact that there's a huge dark spot in the center. I may just get the Pro Photo one, even though it costs 4 times as this one. I think it was $300 plus a speed ring, which costs $100. That's too crazy. 30% setting right over here for the SL-150. Now I'm going to increase it to 50%. Sorry, 40%. So right now it's at 40%. I'm at 4 feet away. You guys can take a look and see how well it looks like. In a little bit I'm gonna walk back maybe 3 more feet, and then you guys can take a look at the effect of the light, how well it works, maybe 6 feet away from your subject. So this is 40% at a little more than 4 feet away. 4 feet away. Okay, so now let's actually increase it to 50%. This is 50%. I can already feel like it's getting pretty bright. Again, I think if it's this loud and it's this bright, I may have to just bring my fluorescent ring light that I had, which I used for a few of the product shots. I may just bring the ring light as a fill light to compensate for this one, because both of them is daylight balanced, so it shouldn't have any trouble matching up the colors. So at least I hope. So this is 50%. I'm gonna get it to 60%. Alright, so this is at 60%. Camera settings still 2.8, 50th of a second, and it's already too bright for my eye. Like, I couldn't actually really look at the light because it's too bright. So if I look at the camera, it's okay. So I think when I actually need to set up the interview, I would have the soft light, the softbox slightly further away from the camera to reduce the glare. But then again, I don't think my subject is going to be looking at the camera. They're mainly going to be looking at the interviewer, so the lighting is kind of going to be like that. So like a 45-degree quarter lighting, which I think should work, because I also have a few LED panels that I'm going to set up as fill lights. So that's going to be interesting. So this is 50%. This is 60%. So now we're going to increase it to 70%. This is 70%. Very, very bright. I can even see, the background is actually getting lighted quite a lot. So if your interviewer, if your subject is going to be at a slight distance, I think this light should work. Actually, this light should work best if your subject is really far away, have a mic set up on them, because you can be really far away from the fan. I'm pretty sure the fan noise is getting picked up a lot by the camera. So let's turn it up all the way to 100%. So from 70 to 100. Okay, this is the full power. I don't know how it looks like because I couldn't see from the back of the camera. This is at 100%. It's really, really bright. Actually, more than my expectation for the LED light for the video, because my last one I had was a really bad one, and I kind of had a bad feeling for all the LED lights for video. But obviously this one for $250, it's bright. Just the fan, like I really couldn't get over the fan noise. Also, if you want to use it for shooting outdoors without a power source, you need a power pack. You couldn't actually put a battery in it. I think at the competitor's model, you can actually use the standard Sony battery to put into the light for it to light up for a good 1 hour to 2 hours. And this is the 100%. I'm going to go back to the back of the sofa. And this is about, I guess, 6 foot, 7 foot away from the camera. You guys can take a look and see how it looks like at 100% of the power from, let's see, let's get my ruler. I'm just going to measure really quick how far away I am to the camera. Just approximately. So, I'm at about 10 foot away. 10 foot away from the camera. So, in terms of lighting with the softbox, it should stay fairly even because it's really wide. I'm setting up horizontally, so that shouldn't give you any trouble. Again, I am a video newbie, so this is also new for me. Even though I have a studio lighting experience for photography, I'm really not much experienced in video. And this is also very experimental for me because I'm doing my first video shoot, a paid gig. That's why I want to get some lights and get things going. So this is 10 foot away, and I'm gonna reduce the power to 50% so you guys can get a feel of what 10 foot away with 50% of power, f2.8, it's gonna look like. Okay, so this is 50% of the power output, still at daylight color temperature. I'm gonna walk around a little bit, and again, the lighting should be even, okay? And this is without any fill light, without any background light. It's just a single light source. It could be a good dramatic effect if you have I guess a fast aperture lens with like really shallow depth of field. It could create a dramatic effect with a really nice looking background, kind of blurred out. So this is 50%, and I'm actually gonna turn off the light. I'm gonna go back and check on the light and then give you guys an update, okay? So I turn off the light. Interestingly, if you use the remote to turn off the light, the fan stays on. You have to physically turn off the light with the actual switch over on the back of the camera to be able to have the fan stop spinning, which I guess defies the purpose of like using the power button, because like it turns off but then the fan is still on. Annoying. Okay. Let me check the temperature of the light. So surprisingly, go back to here. Surprisingly, the light is very cool. I think the fan is a little excessive. It doesn't necessarily have to be running at this high of a speed. But I guess for the protection purpose of the circuitry inside the light, it's good for the fan, or I mean it's good for the light itself. The fan is really loud. Again, the fan is really loud. So I'm gonna take a look at the footage, and I have no doubt this is gonna serve its purpose, lighting up the scene, but I need to figure out a way to actually make sure the fan noise is not bothering, everybody, because at this moment it's bothering me very much. Okay, so I'm gonna turn off the light. We're gonna do a conclusion video. Okay, so now I'm gonna go all the way to the back of my living room. Right now I have ISO at 800. ISO 800. Shutter speed is still at 1/5 of a second, and aperture I actually turned it up to all the way to 1.4. So I'm gonna go all the way back to the back of the wall. Right now the meter reading, let's see, not sure if it'll focus. I guess not. The meter reading is at 10%. So the light is very, very powerful if your camera can handle a little bit of the noise. So at 800, it's already really bright on the back wall. So I'm gonna go back, I'm gonna turn up the aperture. I'm gonna turn up the power and see how bright I'm gonna get. Almost 16 to 20 foot away, okay? So I'm gonna put the camera back here, and then I'm gonna walk back all the way to the back. This is all the way to the back wall, and ISO 800 f1.4. So if you have a better lens, it also helps to pull more out of this light at only 10% setting right now. So I'm going to increase it to 50%, and let's see how powerful it is. Right now it's half of the power, so 75 watts output. This is what it looks like. hopefully at 50% my face already exposing really nicely, hopefully. If not, let's increase it to 100% and see how well it performs at 100% from really far away. So now it's at 100%. You can hear the fan is working really hard. Again, I feel like this light is very bright. Like to my naked eye, the light is very bright. For a single light setup, it's good enough. So I'm really happy about the purchase. I got this light on Amazon, so if you guys also starting out, want to do some video, doesn't know where to start, and you don't have a lot of budget, I would highly suggest to get this light. If I can find a way to get rid of the fan noise by modifying the fan maybe, or by using a shotgun mic, so the mic can be very directional, so it ignores the noise from the back of the camera. That would be totally ideal. So I'm bringing back to 30%, and this is 30% at about 4 foot away, 3 to 4 foot away. That's what it looks like. ISO 800. To me, like on the A7 III, the 800 is already like, I couldn't see any noise in 800, so I would say I could even bump it up to 1600 ISO without seeing too much noise, especially if you light your subject really well and the surrounding gets lighted really well. The noise is not it's not a big issue, okay, even for 4K recording. So again, in conclusion, I'm really glad that the SL-150 actually performed quite well in lighting up the subject, paired with this very cheap light box that I also got from Amazon. It works. So for less than $350, maybe you need to add a few dollars to get a proper stand for the light. You could have a proper video light, and I'm quite surprised. I think it's a good value for what you're gonna be using it for. If you're doing something slightly more advanced, if you require quietness, there are certainly lights out there that's gonna do better, but of course at 3 to 4 times the cost. But for the price, this light is great. So if you guys have any questions about the Godox SL-150, feel free to ask me in the comment section, and I'd be happy to answer all the questions for you guys. And again, this is my very first LED video light, so if I said something wrong, feel free to correct me in the comment section as well, so I can learn and improve. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll see you in my next video. Take care.